Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Mademoiselle Lina, and you can find me online at www.conjureknits.com. Today, we are here to do the Taurus TarotScope for January 2022, and we are going to be using the Fairy Oracle cards by Brian Froud. Before we get started, I would like to say thank you for viewing my video. And if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and click on the little bell so that you'll receive notifications of when I go live or upload new videos. I do try to stay pretty busy here on my channel. I do all 12 zodiac signs for the monthly tarot scopes. On Sundays, we have Conjure Crew with myself, Mambo Tanya, and the Black Bonnet Witch. On Mondays, I upload the weekly forecast. Every day, I do a card of the day reveal. On Wednesdays, we have the virtual book club. We are currently reading the Sword of Truth series by Terry Goodkind. It has been so much fun following Richard and Kaylin on their adventures, so you are definitely going to want to join us for that. I also pop on from time to time and do free readings, so make sure you get my notifications by clicking that little bell. Alright, I feel that I have rambled on long enough. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Card number 1. What is the challenge for this month? And we have Undressing of a Salad. This is about balance, avoiding extremes, achieving the impossible, being impossible. Brian called this painting the dressing of a salad, but in an earlier stage of the Good Fairies/Bad Fairies manuscript, it was the undressing of a salad. I've combined the names because they show us important aspects of the card. The dressing of a salad requires a good balance. Disparate elements must blend into a tasty whole. The undressing of a salad requires truly remarkable adroitness. At first, one might think it impossible, but Adroito, whom we see busily balancing magical balls, is the fairy of doing impossible things. He is also the fairy of being impossible and the fairy of avoiding extremes. Sound impossible? Well, of course it is. Both Adroito and Sally, crouched above him, are intently focused on balancing things, and the large gnome in the center finds this very amusing. He looks in two directions at once, seeing the impossibility of keeping things that are in constant motion in balance at all times, like the juggling act of life. Of course, we fall out of balance. Of course, we occasionally drop the ball. Sometimes we drop the ball, or a bird flies by and snatches it from us, and we just have to invent another one. Sometimes this seems as impossible as undressing a salad. There are times when we have to turn bad luck into good, and that isn't always easy, especially if someone else seems determined to turn good luck into bad. Everything is integrating and disintegrating at the same time. Confusion is rife, but we still try to create order and put things into balance. The whole universe is hurtling through time at an astonishing rate, and it is very difficult to keep balance on a rapidly moving object, especially as it appears to lurch unpredictably from time to time. Sooner or later, Adroito or Sally, or both, will drop their balls. The sulky-looking fellow on the left is clearly waiting to snatch one or two so that he can play too, or maybe just so that Adroito and Sally cannot. My money is on Adroito, though. He is smart enough to realize that old balls wear out, and new ones must be brought into play. He is ready to deal with this. The balance changes constantly, but it is still balance. Card number 2. What positive energies can I embrace this month? And we have Gotcha. This is about sudden shock, unexpected events, rude awakenings. Gotcha is the out-of-the-blue fairy. He likes to surprise us. You know, you're walking along, minding your own business, or not minding any business at all, and the universe smacks you on your blind side with something that makes an awful splat. Unexpected demands from the tax man. The bank's hole-in-the-wall machine eats your bank card late at night, while the burly and irritable taxi driver is waiting. Your children find a way to dye themselves green just before your in-laws arrive. A meteor hits your car. Gotcha is, of course, capable of happy surprises as well as shocking or miserable ones. Perhaps your lottery ticket wins. There is a school of thought that says this is just karma. We deserve it for sins we have totally forgotten in other lifetimes. Not so. Karma is about lessons we need to learn, not about punishment, and meaningless events don't teach us much. So this may be karma, but it isn't that kind of karma. There is another school of thought that says all of these things are our choices. We chose to be there when this was happening. We choose to step in front of the invisible cosmic bus. There is some truth to this, on one level of being high in the superconscious. As Gotcha says, I know more than I see. But most of us don't function at that exalted intuitive level of consciousness much of the time. However, many of us do get hints, little flashes of intuition, and sometimes even big flashes of intuition. We often say, I knew I shouldn't have gone that way, or trusted that person, or invested in that stock. There are two things Gotcha is trying to teach us. He says he doesn't enjoy doing it, but do I believe him? Actually, I do, mostly. First, we need to learn to listen to and trust our intuition. We need to be awake and aware. It is just part of what we need to learn in order to fulfill our potential to have happy and satisfying lives. Without it, we are sleepwalking in the world, missing all of the wonders and joys, while not missing many of the bumps and pitfalls. Second, when there are lessons we need to learn, or when there are experiences that are properly other people's, but that have impact on us, we need to learn to roll with the punches, to take what comes at us, learn what we can from it, and regain our balance as quickly as possible. Things happen. We can't always control them, and we can't always get out of their way. We don't always even have a choice about them. For example, to live with a beloved animal friend probably means that you're going to lose that creature at some point, because most pets have shorter lifetimes than humans do. Other things happen as well. People occasionally win huge sums in lotteries, but this too, we need to be able to take in our stride and not be completely lost in it. Goshen knows we like to build sturdy, rigid structures in our minds and lives, but he also knows that these often are not good for us. Sometimes we even complain about them, muttering about life being dull and boring, yet we cling to them tenaciously. Such inner and outer rigidities usually encourage stagnation, and the unity insists on growth. So, to help us along, Gotcha kindly delivers these sudden surprises. Yet how often do we remember to say thank you? It's hard, Gotcha says, doing such a difficult job. It's enough to drive a fairy to drink. From the look of that bloodshot eye, he has already been into some of the more potent otherworld nectar. Card number 3. What negative energies do I need to negotiate this month? And we have the Glankener. This is about illusion, delusion, lust, projection, clear sight. Have you ever noticed that when we really, really want someone or something, we tend to see it without clarity? The object of our lust looks flawless and glamorous, which should tell us something right away, but usually it doesn't. He says his name is Smooth Harry, but that may be a little illusion of his own. Unlike the Pook, the Glankener doesn't change his shape to tempt us with our own mental confusions and paradoxes. He simply wears a mirror in which we see our desires temptingly displayed. He doesn't try to fool us. He simply allows us to fool ourselves. Well, he may try just a little, just to make the test a little more difficult. After all, we can be more proud of passing a difficult test than an easy one, can't we? Smooth Harry also appeals to our vanity, and the more we have of it, the easier his work is. A little flattery, and we'll believe whatever he wants us to swallow, especially since it is just what we want to swallow anyway. Of all the fairy challengers, Smooth Harry is the most likely to be sly. He practices a sort of emotional judo where he lets our own desires lead us into a fall. As we rush headlong toward our vision of perfection, he need only step to one side as we cast ourselves at him, and down we go. Not fun, but maybe, perhaps, we might just learn something from it. Card number 4. What do I need to make time for this month? And we have Unity. This is about union, mystical experience, spiritual home. Unity comes first and last. In between we have the illusion of duality, which we all believe in for a very long time. This apparent duality is ultimately shown to be an illusion, but it is an illusion through which we must pass, through which we learn and grow, and then once again return to unity. You may have had mystical experiences where you have had true union with other beings or even with the unity, the one who is all. Such experiences change our lives, effectively showing us that the saying, "We are all one," is not just a pious belief, but is a statement of actual fact. We are not separate like the flowers in a field, but are one. The only way to reach this awareness is to surrender the small everyday self to the larger spiritual self, which is unity. Experiencing full oneness with the unity is transformative. Looking at this painting, one may think, all the power is focused in here, vast energies. It is as if all that power is looking for a place to happen. This is exactly what is going on. Unity is the energy of the cosmos still unmanifest, still without form. Here we see the dark and the light, masculine and feminine, active and passive, and other polarities, all expressed in balanced, energy-filled, vibrant union. All that is one, and that one is God or Goddess is the principle expressed. From this, all else derives. This is the source from which we draw our strength, our very being. Card number 5. What opportunity should I seize this month? And we have the Lady of the Harvest. This is about completion, grief, loss, harvest, release. After we have experienced the nurturing and fulfillment of the bright mother, the Lady of the Harvest, also called the Old Woman or Crone, helps us to let go of what is finished and liberate ourselves to move on to the next phase of our activities and relationships. As in the natural world, the old becomes compost for new growth in our lives. The Lady helps us to adapt to change and release. Often we associate the Lady of the Harvest with loss, regret, and grief, and often we are right to do so. The basic phases of grief are shock and denial, anger and guilt, emotional storm, acceptance, regaining of perspective, the beginning of healing, and the deepening of our capacity for love. The Lady of the Harvest understands grief and is patient and kind as we go through the sometimes painful process of letting go. We may well need to be patient and kind with ourselves. We should note here that the grieving process is the same for little losses and large ones. Only the time scale and the intensity of the emotions vary, but they vary enormously. We might go through all the grieving stages of a small loss in a few minutes, while it may take years for a greater loss. On the other side of this letting go business, there are many things that make us lighter and happier when we release them. Old traumas, tasks, or stages in our lives that we are glad to have finished, unhappy relationships, or feelings that cause us pain and inhibit our growth. Sometimes we simply comfortably finish with one aspect of our lives and move on to the next happily anticipated one. Such releases are cause for celebration, and the old woman joyfully celebrates with us. In this card, we see both the patient acceptance of loss and the joyful celebration of liberation. When we liberate something in ourselves or in the world, we grow to be more like the Lady of the Harvest, developing her capacities within us. All right, my lovelies. Let's take a look at the bigger picture here. Card number 1. What is the challenge for this month? And we have undressing of a salad. Imbalance occurs. Confusion happens. Lovely balls fall on the floor, and we discover that they are uncooked eggs. Sleight of hand may be happening and things that appear to be so are not, and vice versa. Misdirection may be prevalent. Attempts at over-control may be contributing to the problem. Someone may be attempting unethical or unkind manipulations. However, it is worth remembering that out of chaos we can sometimes create miracles. After all, unity created the whole universe that way. Card number 2. What positive energies can I embrace this month? And we have Gotcha. Gotcha speaks to us of sudden, often violent, breakdowns of existing structures, habits, patterns, and/or attitudes. When we become too tightly confined by our own self-imposed limitations, including the desire for comfort and security, Gotcha kindly breaks the structure restraining us, whether we think we want him to or not. On a soul level, we know this to be necessary, but in our everyday thoughts we usually get pretty upset about it. However, breakdown can lead to breakthrough. This is liberation, and we often haven't a clue what to do with it. This is usually the beginning of a period of confusion, even disorientation, while we search for a way forward, although we may think we are simply searching for a way back to what we had before. Recommendation: do not try to pick up the pieces and put them back like they were. Consider, instead, what you would like to build in that part of your life, and this time remember to leave room for growth. Card number 3. What negative energies do I need to negotiate this month? And we have the Glenkener. Someone is pretending to be other than they really are. They may even believe, or at least want to believe, their own deceit, but probably not. This pretense may be because they want to please others, because they lack the moral strength to present themselves and their ideas honestly, or because they simply hope to gain an advantage by fooling others. Sometimes people fool themselves into thinking they are better than others, and it is therefore all right for them to deceive. Although that is invalid logic, it is not uncommon. Vanity can be involved here, especially vanity based on something we know deep down to be untrue. False words like unmeant apologies may arise, or we may claim that something means little to us when, in fact, it means a great deal. The others involved in the situation need to wake up and notice what is really happening instead of allowing themselves to be fooled. The situation needs to be handled with care, lest the awakening have very explosive, destructive effects. If the pretender is you urgently need to begin to present your true self and true ideas before things get much worse, as they certainly will, with the ensuing crises being even more devastating. This is the time to call upon honesty for aid. Card number 4. What do I need to make time for this month? And we have Unity. When this card comes up in a reading, it is asking us to remember the mystical concept that we are all one, unified in a holistic universe. It reminds us to look at the needs and goals we have in common with others, and to seek cooperation and community action rather than attempting to do everything on our own. To achieve our goals, we need the active cooperation of others. And to get that cooperation, we must be helpful to them and willing to work with their ideas as well as our own. It suggests that we think of things in terms of equal partnerships rather than in lines of hierarchical authority. Unity also tells us that we have much to gain by remembering our own wholeness. Resolution of inner conflict is often necessary before we move ahead. It is important at this time that we work toward cooperation and reconciliation within and without. Seek the highest good of all involved, and not merely your idea of highest good. Ask for the divine energy of unity to permeate and guide you. Card number 5. What opportunity should I seize this month? And we have the Lady of the Harvest. It is time to accept change, to move on to the next phase. Power and strength in the present and future come from releasing the past. This is a time of liberation, and we might as well cooperate with it. It will happen whether we want it to or not. Release and liberation may be painful or joyful, depending on the circumstances. Cry if you need to, be joyful if that is appropriate. But in either case, trust the process, acknowledge what you feel, and prepare to move on. I hope that this reading has helped you and will help lead you and guide you throughout the month of January. Keep it in mind throughout your daily activities. Then, before you go to bed each evening, journal about how it was pertinent to your day. Also, feel free to comment below if you would like. I would love to hear from you. If you do feel that it has helped you and that it will help someone else, please feel free to share this video. Sharing is caring. And if you would like a more in-depth and personal reading, you can go to my website at www.conjureknits.com and click on the link at the top of the page that says, Book a Reading. Oh, and by the way, did you know that you could have gotten this TarotScope up to 2 weeks before the general public? Oh yes, check out my Patreon for details. I will drop a link in the description box below. I hope you all have a very beautiful and amazing month. Love you bunches. Shalom.